Hey guys, hope you're all well. So going over a quick little video today talking about pre-fatigue and how you can use it in your sessions to kind of emphasize different muscles a little bit more than others. So what you're going to see in a few minutes time is a little clip from a workout session I had with a client a couple of weeks ago. Basically we had a glute focused workout and the first movement was a seated hamstring curl supersetted with a barbell hip thrust. So the function basically of superset is to allow you to get more volume in a session. However, this particular superset here had more reason than just, let's get more in the amount of time we have. It was more about actually, like I said, pre-fatiguing down to the goals and, what we had planned for the session. So the goal of the session was, it was a glute focused session, so we want to do exactly what we could to place a lot more load onto the glutes and not the hamstrings, the quads, anything else, okay? So in any kind of hip extension movement like a hip thrust, there's two muscles going to be playing a more dominant role, your glutes and your hamstrings, okay? But like I said before, the goal of the session was to primarily hit the glutes, okay? So that's where the whole kind of pre-fatigue format comes in, okay? So when you're doing your seated hamstring curl before, your hip thrusts, we know from research that by doing a movement that will, again, pre-fatigue a muscle group before another exercise, so for example here, the hamstring curl before the hip thrust, we're pre-fatiguing the hamstrings. So when it comes to the hip thrust, they're not going to take as much load as the glutes will. So the load that would originally be on the hamstrings in your hip thrust is going to transfer onto the glutes. So the glutes are going to get a lot more work done. So that's just a little technique you're going to see in a second here that we use in the session to get a lot more focus on the glutes as opposed to the hamstrings. Okay, so bear in mind, training sessions, training programming in general for clients should always be down to their goals. Okay, if they want to work their glutes more, they want to improve this way, they want to improve that. It's up to you as a coach or PT to really take that into account and program as best you can to facilitate those goals, which is exactly what we did in the session here, guys. Have a look and then try maybe bring it to your next session if you want to kind of bring up your glutes, or if you kind of take the concept of pre-fatigue, add it to another muscle group and then see how you get on. So as you can see, we're using a seated hamstring curl machine. Now, ideally, we'd be using a lying hamstring curl because if you want to think about the top position in a hip thrust, it's kind of mimicking, that squeeze position in a seated hamstring curl, except kind of the other way around, kind of upside down. However, we're going to work with what we have. Unfortunately, the lying hamstring curl wasn't available at the time. We didn't want to wait around just to get the machine, so we used the seated one instead. Is it going to be massively detrimental? No, you're still working the hamstrings and pre-fatiguing them, so it's not going to do as much, as a lying hamstring curl, but it'll still do, the job you want to do. So a few cues I'm doing here, Anna. Number one, knees in line with the axis, but I want her to squeeze about this top and bottom position and pause as hard as you can. And then re-slow on the eccentric. As well as that, I'm cueing her to keep her abs locked in tight as well as her glutes. Because what you find is when you bring your hamstring into that shortened position, your lower back tends to compensate because it doesn't like being in that shortened position. It's very weak in that position, so it'll kind of get your lower back to kind of extend and throw off a lot of load from the hamstring onto the lower back, which obviously we don't want, okay? You'll see on this last rep here, one thing I do to a lot of clients is kind of force that eccentric, so really push as hard as you can there, just kind of as a bit more metabolic work at the end of that kind of movement. Then we came straight into our barbell hip thrust. Now, a few cues I want you to take into account when you're performing these. Number one, move your knees out wide, okay? The secondary function of your glutes is abduction of the legs, so moving them out wide is going to bring in a lot more functions of the glutes. Number two, anterior pelvic tilt. Think about tucking your tailbone between your legs as you come to that squeeze position. Again, getting it as short as possible is the goal here. And then, of course, hip extension, so driving the hips up into the air. Combine those three and you're working the glutes into a multiple amount of functions and you get a lot more work done.